Some things just go together. Wine and cheese, flowers in springtime, and yes, books and bottles. We pair your favorite author with your favorite drink. Your host of Books and Bottles, Benita Johnson.
Hi, welcome to Books and Bottles. I'm your host, Benita Johnson. We are back again with a wonderful show. This is our show where we introduce you to your favorite author. We pair it with your favorite wine and spirit. So we're excited to be back. If you've been with us before, welcome back. If this is your first time, you're in for a treat. Either way, we invite you to share. We want to grow this audience. So today I have two of my home team. My home team going to be with me on the show today. Y'all know my home is Richmond. You know, I kind of been floating around between North Carolina and DC, but Richmond is home. So today I am honored to have two wonderful guests who I love so dearly on the show with me. So first, I'm going to introduce the author. And this person was an integral part of my life during COVID when I was on screen with my girlfriend, Gwen Hurt of Shoe Crazy Wine and Teresina St. Clair. Steven was our producer, our boss. And so we used to fight behind screen. So now he's on my show. So I'm the boss. So I welcome to the stage, Mr. Steven Sykes.
Blessings and good evening to you all.
Hey, Steven, how are you?
I'm doing great, highly blessed, and just grateful to be here. Thank you so very much.
And so I remember fondly the set where you are right now. I was right there with my friend Gwen. Hey, Gwen.
Hey, Bonita, how are you?
So, you know, what our viewers don't know is I am naturally an introvert. And so I used to sit right on the
end.
The left side of Gwen.
Right.
I was the quiet one on the show.
Yes, the rest of us were just a bit rowdy. With
Yes,
Brittany leading the charge sometimes.
Yes. So welcome to Books and Bottles. So Steven, congratulations on your book.
Much.
I think this is the first time we've even had a conversation since you've written the book.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a big deal. So what's the title of the book? Because I won't remember.
Sure. The book is called The Viability of Alternative Investing, and Unity One is part of the, I have a series of pushing out called the Wealth Faction Financial Series. And the goal of it is just to try to help bring financial literacy in different ways of investing and saving our money and improving different things for different communities all around the world.
That's amazing. So when you say our communities, are you speaking more to the African American community?
Yes, more so to the African American community, but it's open to all. The goal of the book is that, unfortunately, the information and lessons about money, finances, status, how money works was not always privy to our communities overall, not just here in America, but also within the Black communities around the world. So this book also helps gives information about how money works, but also what you could do with your money with just very little bit of money, and also give information about different ways of how money is being shared through businesses, through investing accounts, wealth, growth, government, finances, and just a variety of different service fields as well. And also just shows you how with just a little bit of money, even as little as $10, $5, or $20, you can go further. And hopefully we can erase that 400 to 500 plus year gap of financial wealth that we did not have here in America and also throughout the world, and get us on an equal standing within all our communities.
That's a huge gap to overcome. And I'm glad you mentioned what a little bit of money is. A lot of times we don't do because we feel like we only have $5, $10, or $20 to invest, and that's just not enough. And so instead of using that money to invest, even save, you know, even if you don't invest, but even save, we don't do because we don't see the value that this 5 turns to 10, turns to 20, turns to 100 in a short period of time. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you, ma'am. I just want us to learn as a community, not just be consumers. I think that was always what was taught to us, that, you know, to showcase our wealth instead of letting our money work for us. You'll see a lot of people in other communities and those with money don't necessarily showcase that wealth. You're not seeing $100, $200 sneakers and things like that. Sometimes they just as farmers, but you'll never know they're millionaires or billionaires because they're not showcasing their wealth unless they're going to a business meeting.
So I haven't had the pleasure of reading your book yet, and I will be ordering it once we are done with this. But how is that that we can teach that or unlearn that? Because we tend to show everything we have on our backs, on our feet, what we drive. So how do we unlearn that, those things really mean nothing if they have no value?
I think that first, what it shows two things. One, I think we have to roll back the negative stereotypes that we unfortunately push upon ourselves within our communities, such as we're acting too white or we don't care, all these other negative things that sometimes we are taught, that we're not being true to ourselves. And I think once we get past those negative mental slavery and those negative terms and things, then we have to be open to, willing to listen to, have an honest conversation about how money works and show how it doesn't stay within our communities as long as it does within other communities. That's the first step. The second step is also understanding how does your money generate, not so much of just time for money, but also that money, it's important that money works for you when you eat, sleep, and grow, that you're not just the employee, but soon get yourself to be self-employed, the investor, and then eventually the owner. So once we start showing those different principles and taking a honest grasp look of how the stock market works, how does the coin turn over, how does money over time. Just because you have $10 in your hand, that does not mean you have $10. You still have taxes and other things coming out your check. Many people still don't even understand what those terms mean coming out of your payroll check every week or every month, however you get paid. So once we start understanding those banking terms and those financial terms and starting from an early age, it will go. I believe that for those of us who were in more major cities, I can speak for myself in the New York, New Jersey area, we learned money. You had the penny book and the penny saver that used to give the kids, and you follow the market and penny book. So I was a working understanding of how money works in investment in the stock market and what have you. But unfortunately, those lessons learned were not afforded to everybody in all the communities throughout the U.S. and around the world. And the last thing is those with the knowledge has to be willing to share. Unfortunately, not everybody's going to be with you on that train, but there were unfortunately too many people. Sometimes they were classified as the elite, but those within the knowledge did not go back and share within the communities. And I think that we need to have a better sharing mechanism within our communities, not just socially and financially, but emotionally, that in order for us to grow, we have to start from the bottom and work on both sides.
That's a great point. I was having a conversation with a person today who wants to go on a platform and have these workshops, seminars for younger people, not necessarily kids, but like young college age or fresh out of college, to talk about money. And one of the things that I told him is that there's information out there, but there's no follow through. It's like we put the information, but just like with everything else, I think we need money mentors and investment mentors that's constantly following up and reminding us, because as a young person, they have distractions just like we do. There's so many shiny things out there, so we need somebody to say, hey, that's probably not the right shiny thing to buy right now, instead of buying not putting down anybody's car, but instead of buying a Lexus, you can buy a nice Honda or something else that can still do what you need to do, and you can have money to put away somewhere else. Go ahead, please.
Oh, no, sir. One of the things is I spent the many years growing up in a variety of different service fields at the same time, between sports, the fashion world, and technology world, and working with the government and traveling. And I saw money especially in the technology and the sports world. I saw a lot of money always being exchanged, and how that it was not always necessarily hard cash, but just exchanging stocks, trade, paying attention to how even the weather affects your crops, the world market, politics, everything was involved in how money and why, even to this day, when you see the conflict over the Middle East, a lot of it just depends on the U.S. trade relations with Israel and other countries, all affect how money works. And people don't understand why we're involved in certain things and why the wealth is not being distributed. So I think when you take the items such as my book and also follow up with, like you suggested, with workshops and seminars, and then encouraging our children to invest wisely and show the benefit of not following the Joneses, I think that would go a very long way.
Absolutely.
Can I just
Please.
kind of go back to your first question with how do you unlearn? How do you unlearn this behavior? I don't have an answer for that. I'll be honest with you, I don't. But I think that these the people that we look up to, and I use the term we loosely, right?
Yeah.
But in a lot of communities, they look up to athletes and they look up to, entertainers and stuff like that. And one gentleman, and I don't know a lot about his career, Jeezy, I think he's getting a divorce or something now. That's the only reason I was reading the gossip page. But what he said is his son asked him, Dad, he wants to get into the game, he said. And his son asked him, Dad, why, I'm going to get one of those big, gold chains. And he says, no, you're not. You're going to take that money and buy a building, put a deposit on a building. And when your friends and your homies say to you, why aren't you sporting the big gold chain? You tell them you own a building. It has to start there with the role models. You're not the role model. Stephen's not the role model. I'm not the role model, right? Nobody's going to look to Gwen, Stephen, and Benita and say, I want to be like them. They look to Beyonce and Jay-Z and all these people. So in order to unlearn it, we have to have it at that level where those guys are saying, this is what I do. This is not what I am. And they say, this is what I do. And this is who I am. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a difference between who I am and what I do. And I think it has to start there, because trying to teach someone about investing when all they're seeing is consumerism.
Right.
So you have to unlearn consumerism, being the biggest consumer, before you can learn to be an investor.
Actually, that's your answer.
Huge. And we do have to also learn relativity, because whereas Jay-Z can easily, this $200 pair of sneakers is nothing.
He lost that in the cushions, when they were watching the game.
Right.
Fell down in the cushions when they were watching the game.
But that money, to your point, that his money and his investment paid for those sneakers. And
yes,
so
they did. But like if I buy them, that's my whole phone bill, and y'all might be calling me and I can't call you back,
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
So it's relativity.
Yeah, it has to start with those role models, though. Those are the people that they look up to, right? So if you and I can stand there and Stephen until we're blue in the face and saying, you need to save and you need to do this, but then they see their idols are, sporting the newest this, and they got the, the chains and the everything and the teeth that I still want to see this gold teeth thing. But it's tough.
It's a popularity, unfortunately, plays a role. 9/10 of the law for some people is what we set out there as the standard. Then people will tend to follow. When we go around teasing people because they don't have anything, but they don't understand what you're going for, it's hard. I asked one person not too long ago, what are you willing to sacrifice for a year or two to live a life for what you want, the rest of their life for the way that you want? And I also told several young people that may have gotten married early, and let's say they may have both have decent jobs. I've always encouraged them, act like you're living off of one income and spend the next 5 years. If you're living, it may not be what you want, but if you're in the parents' basement or a cheap apartment and what have you, and you're both earning 40 grand a year, which is sadly just barely above the national average. But if you're able to live off of one income and in the next 4 or 5 years put it away, then now that you have your house, you have your car, you have everything else set long before you're 27 years old. And what could you go forward with that? Those are the lessons and things I wish I was taught many years ago. Well, some of those things I did know, but did not have the opportunity. And I can honestly be very transparent. I did not have all the ways, a lot of money to spend to make things grow, but following some of the principles have maintained me through some tough times, through my health, through college, through other things that it may not have been a whole lot, but I didn't start off with zero. And because I kept those money principles that I try to share within this book and others.
So I think for a lot of time, a lot of years, especially through our young life, we were told that home ownership was the way, the American dream. And right now is very challenging for young people to obtain that dream. So do you feel like they are being, they just feel like, oh, well, we can't buy a house, so let's just give up. What are those alternative investments that you speak of in the book?
Oh, yes, the alternative investment, there's a whole list of them, but some of the things I try to speak about is investing in investment firms, hedge funds that's out there, also different new age products and technologies, such as those companies that we hear about Tesla, for example, or Google, but we don't talk about the companies that are working with them, that's giving them the tools and the technology or the parts or the computer chips for those things. We could talk about wine. We could talk about coin. There's art. There's also commercial buildings that you can invest in. There's several groups that say, okay, we may need $100,000. They may go to a site like Fundrise, and you can invest anywhere as low as $10 or $100 to give towards a property. There's a company site called Ground Floor that a couple of years ago, I put like $20, and when they sold the property and the house and things, I just to test to see, how that site go, that my $20 turned into $76. Now it was just off the percentage, and they give you the yield and how everything else works. But there's so many other things out there. You can invest into farms. You can invest into data centers. You can invest into different types of fishing technology to help protect the water and the fish and the coral reefs. There's new technologies out there that they're looking to build, similar to what happened in Dubai, where they built to raise the land and build reefs to help add more additional land for Dubai. They're looking to do similar technology to New York to expand to help save the environment and also offer additional land for to help the housing crisis. There's a lot of technology with that you can invest in. And as once other corporations and government and other places around the world get involved in, now your money grows. And you don't, just because you win something, that don't mean you instantly pull it out. You have to be willing to show how it works and things. Now, obviously, life happens and emergencies happen, yes, but you should also separate those things from your wants and your needs, and also prepare for the future. And you never know what happens.
And shouldn't you have a diverse portfolio? Yes. Because the word investment itself means risk.
Right. There's an inherent risk with anything, but I will say that some will say, and you do your own research, they will say there's a high risk. And yes, there's a risk on all of it, but I will say that for me, there's not a risk. And I will tell you why. The money can come back, but your time does not. And when you're learning how money works with your money, and you can share and grow your financial and eventually your knowledge with your family and improve your life, it's money well spent. You can, once you get that knowledge, it can't be taken away from you. So then when you receive something, not just money, but property or anything else, the best way about how to utilize those resources. This helps spreads across your money on a variety of different resources out there. And you provide various website tools, education lessons, and even links to other worksheets that can give you the information that you need. And also a lot of references to other financial experts around the world that have been in this game for many years, millionaires to low-end investors that can share their experiences as well.
So I'm glad you mentioned risk, Gwen, because back in our youth, bonds were the safe space and stocks were risky. And so now it's so many different avenues, and we're seeing it, because back then, if you weren't reading like financial news, you really didn't know what was going on. Like now everything is at your fingertips. Soon as a big company takes a dip, it almost as quickly as they do, as their stockholders do, whether or not you own a stock or not. So I think there is some educating to be done about, the risk and what they are and what time means in that. So I need a drink on that. So I think this is the perfect time for me to bring in my big sister and the queen of wine, Miss Gwen Hurt of Shoe Crazy Wine. What y'all got over there in the glass? I'm over here drinking water. What y'all got?
We are drinking something not too much stronger than water. These are our wine spritzers, the Shoe Crazy peach honey spritzer is what I'm having, and Stephen's having the cranberry spritzer. So, and the reason I decided to pair this with the book is because we're talking about investing and financials, right? So we don't want to be too tipsy. We want to actually understand what we're reading. So there you want something that's a little low alcohol, but still gives you a nice flavor. My favorite is this peach honey because it has a light sweetness on it. The cranberry has a little tartness on it. So it's like, if you like dry wines, the cranberry would probably be for you. But if you're actually going to read this book, and I read it, so what I can say I appreciated about it was that it does tell you a lot of different avenues to invest. And I just say, you know, we don't know that you can invest as an equity investor. I had someone to come to me and ask me to invest in the new production of The Wiz, right? I chose to pass. I did choose to pass. And the reason I chose to pass is because I really need to focus on, you know, as we roll out our, you know, spritzers and cocktails and stuff like that, I want to kind of invest that money in our new product line. But there was a lot of folks on that call that ended up investing, and it's doing pretty well. It's now off Broadway. So to Stephen's point, there are so many different things that you can invest in that most people don't think about. They think about IBM stock and, you know, and Tesla stock and this, that's not where we are. If you wanted to invest in those things, you needed to invest in IBM when it was a typewriter company, right?
Yeah.
You need to invest in Tesla when nobody knew who Elon Musk was. The same thing with what's the one where you order everything online, when they were Amazon when they were just selling books.
But even with Amazon, if you had took the time and they tripled their stock.
I know, but I'm saying, but that's over.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm saying, but there are other
right now
avenues,
it's
like invest in shoe crazy spritzers. No.
Well, you know, but that's a great point.
That's what I'm talking about.
I recently bought a couple of bourbon barrels, right? So I probably would never bottle those because bourbon, as we know, it takes time and it has to sit in those barrels. And so a lot of folks that get into the industry, while some of it, I'm just going to be honest, while some of it is trash because they buy in and the bourbon has only been in the barrel the 1 year that's required to be called bourbon, and it's not good. And so, you know, if I hold on to these barrels until they're 7, 8, 9 years old, you know, I can sell them for well over what I paid for them. And they're ready. You know, for somebody who wants to be in the industry, you could take these, buy this now from me, you know, and you can bottle today because I've held it for you for 7 years. And so, and that's something, and I chose bourbon as my investment because that's something that I understand. You know, I understand the whiskey industry. I understand wine, much to you educating me. But, you know, just understanding what we're investing in. And I think that's one of the intimidation factors is that, you know, we don't understand. Like, you know, we have those of us who work, you know, we may have a 401k and, you know, I do that and I don't know, you know, I just pick some stuff, you know, and they're doing what they do with my money. And as long as it's more than I put in, I seem to be okay. You know, but the things that I'm going to do grassroots, I want to understand. And I don't, and I think there's so much information out there. You know, we do have to do our homework and help young people to understand where they're putting their money.
I want to add to that encounter with that is that it's something for young and old, no matter what age group. But I would tell people all the time.
I'm young. I just want to add, say, I want to be on the young side.
Well, yeah, I know. I you know, I didn't want to let everybody know you were only 40.
Barely a Gen Z.
21. Be quiet. 40.
Okay,
crazy.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Barely a Gen Z.
I won't get my Christmas card this year. But the thing about it all is that people have to understand. There's always going to be things, you know, how like when we educate our youth about that, still go and do something, go somewhere, even though you may not like it, may not want to, but it broadens your horizons anyway and make you better down the line. It's the same thing with this. So yes, some say, oh, I don't care about it, but then you have to unfortunately relate it to something that do care about that, where I would educate some young women about how they're coupons. You spend two, apply for this, you get another 10% off or whatever, Bed Bath & Beyond, on Bath & Body Works, or whatever deals that's going on for the different stores that they may like, just to give an example. Well, then let me show you how that money actually does work down the line, and the products and who's making the decisions and how all those things come together in the yield. So when they talk about silk or a certain fabric has gone up by 5% and you wondering why the coupon is not worth anything, those things add up. There's a site called Open Investment that tells you a lot about different ways to invest in new and emerging things that are vetted companies. They're not guaranteeing that they're going to be successful or not, but they do the vetting work for you as well. And they go through the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, other places. I spent a lot of time doing some work with the government and the accountability with SEC, also with on Wall Street, and learned a lot of tricks there that I wanted to share, and I placed that in the book as well. There's other things like farm investment, other groups, and you'll see in the back of the book a list of websites out there. And the sites are not there. I'm not getting, just to be open, transparent, I'm not affiliate of all these sites at all. I'm not getting money from any clicks or anything like that. This is just a pure heart information. Here you go. I've contacted many organizations over the last couple of years about, hey, can I share your information? They like, go ahead, just link us, because I wanted to show who's there, what's there. Now, obviously, some information does change and it's fluid. This is the world and does spin, but as long as you stay on top of it and you go from there, even if the kids with the games and their toys, show it, how does it work? And I think you'll gain their interest.
Thank you so much. This information has been invaluable. I really appreciate you being a part of the show. How can people get your book, Stephen?
Yes, ma'am. First, they can go to Amazon.com and you can search up my name. You can also put in the title of the book, The Viability of Alternative Investing. Also, if you can't find it there, you can also go to my website, which is oneconsulting.com, where we do a variety of different things, such as event production, social media solutions, everything else with business consulting, marketing strategy, brand positioning, so much more. But there you can scroll down and you can see the link to our book. And we also have a gift package there that we can offer wine and other things with as a VIP package if you would care to like. And you can see the link there as well. So either way, you can go there and we'll get the book out to you as soon as possible.
Okay, I'm going to be ordering my book tonight. And I know if you're in Virginia and DC, you can get Shoe Crazy Wines in the can, the spritzer, at thevineWineClub.com. If you're other places, how do we find it, Miss Gwen?
We go to shoecrazywine.com and we ship to 34 states, and we ship in Virginia through the Vine Wine Club through Miss Benita Johnson.
Yes, I'm so excited. I so appreciate y'all for being here. I want to test. Those cans are amazing. I think I did
Total Wine too.
Okay, I did a reels on them. I think I was drinking both of them.
I saw that. It was fabulous. Yes.
So so get those cans because they are so good, and I'm so appreciative that y'all are here. Y'all are my family. I love you both. Good luck to you, Stephen, on your book. And I know we're gonna sell those cans, so I'm not even concerned about that. So thank you. So if there are other authors on the show who would like to be a part of Books and Bottles, please email us at info@grose.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to share. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first.